Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm still new to this whole vlogging thing, so please bear with me. But I wanted to make a video explaining the story behind why I gave my life to Christ. I've gotten a lot of questions in the past few years from friends, family members, teachers, co-workers, all asking me, why did you start practicing your faith again? When did you become so serious about it? What happened to you? And so I thought in this video it would be cool to kind of give a brief version of my story and how I got here. So I'd like to start off by saying I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, went to church on Sunday with my family, all of that, which was great. But I was never convinced that this faith should be the center of my life, that I should be practicing the sacraments regularly. I didn't understand the depth of any of those things, and I thought that they were kind of just something that you do, but aren't the center of everything. Thought it was like just another part. It was like you go to school, you go to work, you go to church. I didn't think like the God thing was supposed to be in the middle of everything else. So, first, let's give a little synopsis of high school. So in high school, I was a little off the rails. I was very involved in the party scene. I wasn't very happy. I wasn't very fulfilled. I was looking for something. I was searching for an answer, for a truth, to bring this happiness into my life, to bring this joy. But I kept looking in the wrong places. I think society had convinced me that, I needed to have a great friend group, I needed to have a boyfriend, I needed to go out and get drunk and all this stuff. And so I went with it for a while until I was just so empty. So fast forward a little bit. I was 18 years old, a freshman in college, and I experienced my first heartbreak. And I know a lot of people experience this. They know how painful it is. I'm sure everyone watching here has experienced it at least once in their life, but I lost it. I was so devastated and heartbroken, and I didn't know where to put this pain. I was trying to understand my suffering and trying to understand where it was coming from and why it wouldn't go away, and I was losing it. So a friend of mine recommended maybe you should go see a priest. I was so desperate at the time that I did it. That's not something I normally would have done, but because of the circumstance, I just wanted answers. I wanted consolation, and so I went to see a priest. I was also kind of blaming God for my suffering and was like, why can't you just take this away? And asking that typical question that a lot of people ask about God, like, why does he let us suffer? Why can't he take suffering away? Which is a valid thing to think about and to contemplate. So I went to see this priest, Father David Ryder. From that point forward, my life forever changed because, number one, I went back to confession for the first time in years. And that was so freeing. It wasn't awkward. I didn't feel ashamed. I felt free. And Father David treated me with so much love and mercy, and I truly saw God in this man. I truly saw Jesus Christ coming through Father David, and it was an experience that I can't describe. But in that moment, I was so convicted that there was more to my life. And as we continued to talk after confession, I started to recognize that the reason I was so unhappy, the reason I was so unfulfilled, was because God was not the center of my life. God was not the center of my decisions. I was not striving for virtue. I was not striving for heaven. All of these things were like foreign concepts to me at the time. From that point forward, Father David became my spiritual director. He taught me about my faith. I started reading spiritual books. I started having a real prayer life. I was introduced to beautiful, amazing young Catholic women who really were an example to me. And I didn't think that existed. That there were young Catholics who were on fire for Jesus Christ and were striving for virtue. They were striving for holiness. I couldn't believe it. And these girls are still my best friends to this day and are still helping me reach that goal of heaven, which I am so grateful for. And yeah, so basically these past few years became such an amazing journey on the road towards Christ because I recognized the real purpose of my life was to get to heaven, and that starts here on earth. That starts how I live my life right now. The thing that I realized was that living a life for God was so much more freeing than anything that I ever tried in the past that I thought was so-called freedom. But these things that I was doing were putting me in a deeper and deeper hole. I was immersed in sin constantly. I felt like garbage. I had no self-esteem. I didn't understand the concept of love, of laying your life down for someone else as Christ did for me. And through his death and resurrection, that means that I get to spend a life eternal with God. That's unbelievable. And if that's true, if it's true that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, that changes my whole life. That changes everything. And I don't believe that this is something that's just good for me or just good for my friends or just good for a priest. No, this is something that is beautiful, true, and good for every human being that God created. And whether you agree with me or not, this is where I stand. My life is completely given to God at this point. It's not easy because society is completely against the church. Society is telling me that I am repressing my desires, which is totally untrue. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you become Catholic and your life is perfect. No, it's not. It's a journey. It's hard. You're gonna have to carry crosses. But what I'm saying is that it has a purpose, it has a meaning, because you're not living for yourself anymore. You're living for the one who created you and wants your fulfillment. He wants your joy. He wants to give you the fullest life here on earth so that you can enjoy eternal life with him. And he's molding you right now on earth. And suffering is a part of that. Suffering for me and suffering for you can have a meaning. In my experience, my suffering led me to experience God in a way that I had never seen before. And he might come to you through suffering. He might come to you through joy. He can come to you in whatever way he sees fit. But the beauty of it is that it's a constant. He isn't something that can change. He doesn't love you one day and not love you the next day. He unconditionally loves you and wants your good. And so to live a life that is seeking the will of God is the life that we were created for. And to have a personal living relationship with Jesus Christ will actually be the key to helping you become exactly who you were supposed to be. I now understand the truth that I'm called to be a saint. I believe that you are too. I'm so happy to be able to share my story. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. Feel free to share it with anyone who you think might need to hear it, and hopefully I'll have some more to come. God bless.